Hi everyone, it's Megan from Catherine James. Today we're going to continue to talk about the history of diamonds in our part 2, all about Cecil Rhodes and the De Beers Company. If you want to learn more about when diamonds were discovered and their original sources, remember to watch part 1 of History of Diamonds. So we left off in South Africa during the diamond rush of the late 1800s. Cecil Rhodes, who was only 18 years old, arrived to South Africa from the UK in 1870. He soon realized, of course, that there were hundreds of competitors. There were so many proprietors looking for diamonds, but he also realized that the business was very difficult. It was hard rock mining, it was very expensive, and sometimes there was not a lot of payoff. And so he got smart very quickly and realized he could easily start to eliminate some of his competition by buying their businesses out when they felt like it just wasn't quite worth it. And so over the next 30 years, he slowly started buying out all of his competitors, taking over shares, and consolidating mines. Of course, by buying out all of his competitors, Cecil Rhodes soon became a major player in the diamond industry in South Africa. And by 1888, he had already incorporated De Beers Consolidated Mines Limited, which he named after a family who owned one of the original farms where diamonds were found. By 1900, it's estimated that he already controlled almost 90% of all rough diamonds that were being mined in South Africa. With his unprecedented monopoly over diamonds, he finally achieved his dream of being able to control the supply and demand of this magical gem. Not only could he do that, but he could also control the price. Rhodes was really thinking ahead when he had his dream of controlling the world price for diamonds, and it really came in handy by 1907 when a world recession took place and the market for diamonds pretty much dried up completely. During this time, the few competitors that Rhodes still had continued to flood the market with their diamonds, and of course, the prices totally tanked. So by the 1920s, there were new diamond discoveries happening all over Africa, in Angola, in the Congo, and Rhodes realized that he didn't quite have the money to buy up every single company, but he could afford to buy most of the rough diamonds that they were mining. Again, by purchasing all of this stock of rough diamonds, De Beers was really doubling down on this amazing strategy, and he was completely able to control the supply and demand of the gem, and therefore the price. So when the next recession came in the 30s, De Beers learned his lesson and he completely shut down the De Beers mines until 1944. For one reason, he absolutely could not afford to keep the mines going because people were really not buying diamonds. And B, he was so steadfast in his strategies that he knew he had to control the stock while people weren't buying. And he had such a backlog of diamonds that he refused to flood the market with that it took them nearly 10 years to sell through the back stock when they reopened the mines in 1944. While this insane control of supply and demand of diamonds was probably considered one of the biggest power moves ever in business, there are quite a few other strategies that De Beers also employed during this time which made them a complete superpower in the industry. Number one is that they formed multiple subsidiary companies in order to form a vertical chain of retail. In this way, they could buy, sell, market, and retail all of their own diamonds from mining rough to polished and finished. Number two is that they very carefully set up an entire worldwide network of dealers and retailers which they very carefully screened so that they could continue to control the supply and demand of diamonds and very carefully monitor their distribution. And number three, because they were basically the face of the entire diamond industry, they very wisely invested $200 million a year in the general advertising of diamonds. Of course, a huge part of the latter was their very famous A Diamond Is Forever campaign. It was created in 1947 and quite amazingly was used right up until 2011. It absolutely must be one of the longest running campaigns ever used. Again, during the recession of the 1930s, De Beers was a little bit desperate to try to get diamond sales moving again. And so they enlisted a New York ad agency named N.W. Ayer in order to try to link diamonds more successfully with ideas of personal status and romance and success and courtship. It wasn't until 1947 that one of their female copywriters came up with the slogan, "A diamond is forever." And they used it to link diamonds with diamond engagement rings, which up until then were still not quite mainstream. Engagement rings weren't, necessarily for everyone. They were kind of a little bit more for well-to-do couples, and diamonds weren't always the first choice for engagement rings either. And so moving forward, a diamond engagement ring really became kind of an idea in everyone's home, especially with these amazing advertising budgets that De Beers had. Soon enough, everyone was linking a diamond engagement ring with the ideas of romance and courtship and the American dream. Throughout the rest of the 20th century, De Beers remained a major player in the diamond industry. It wasn't until the early 2000s that they heavily reconstructed the entire company and group of companies in order to allow for more competition in the industry, which was probably much needed. It also allowed new powerhouse sources to arrive from Canada, Russia, other parts of Africa, and Australia. Now it's estimated that De Beers controls more like roughly 50% of rough diamonds in the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please feel free to like it and subscribe as we learn more about gems and jewelry. If you want to learn more about diamonds, check out our articles now at kjj.rocks, and remember to watch our first video all about the history of diamonds.